Shalom, my dear brothers and sisters in Christ. Today's Gospel reading from the Gospel of Luke reminds us and even asks us to reflect how we are treating others in our lives and what do we expect from them in return. Let's dive into the Word. Today's Gospel readings, Jesus tells a Pharisee, when you throw a banquet, when you throw a party, do not invite your brother or your sister or your friends or your relatives or your wealthy neighbors. Invite those who can't repay you in some way or another. For everything that you will be repaid by is in heaven. What does that mean? One thing I can take away from this Gospel reading today is how each of us, as we're going through our lives, we like to throw parties, we like to have things, have functions, and we like to invite our friends along. Sometimes these friends are from our own social circles. Sometimes we invite other people to join us in perhaps more of the bigger functions that we have. But behind all that, what is it that is really going on in our minds? What's going on in our hearts? Perhaps one of the things that we may not have thought about before is maybe we're expecting something in return. Maybe we hope that if we throw a party, that we will be invited by some of our friends to their parties. Or perhaps if we give a gift to someone, maybe deep down inside, we know that, perhaps one day in the future, they will return the favor and give me a gift in return. So perhaps the question we can ponder on today is, does our life revolve around favors? Does our life revolve around, if I do something for you, I'm expecting something in return? If I go out of my way to help you, I expect you to go out of your way to help me sometime in the future. And why not instead, when we act, when we share things with others, when we throw a party, when we give a gift, we do it out of the kindness and compassion of our hearts, without expecting anything in return. For great are the riches and rewards that awaits us in the kingdom of heaven. Perhaps we have been there at one point in our lives, a time where we were really in need of help, really desperate for something, and we had nowhere to turn to. And out of nowhere, a good Samaritan shows up. Could have been a friend or a neighbor, and they helped us out. And in our hearts, we were like, I am indebted to you. But for everything you've done, there is no way that I can repay you. And what if then that person says to you, it is okay. There's nothing that needs to be repaid. There is no favor that needs to be returned because I have willingly given this to you out of the kindness and love in my heart. My dear friends, doesn't that sound very familiar? Doesn't that sound like the exact same thing that Jesus did for each one of us? And that's why I think today's gospel just leads us into this whole thought of what else can we do for others around us? And on the thought of helping people like this, or even among our friends and family, what are we really doing it for? Are we doing it for some sense of status or self-image? Or is it really coming from the depth of our hearts, out of the kindness and compassion? So I think the one thing that we can reflect on today is, have there been any moments in our lives or recent moments where we have expected something from someone in return after we've offered our services or done something for them? And if we have done so, how were we acting? Were we acting out of true love and compassion for our neighbor? Were we loving our neighbor as we love ourselves? Or were we putting ourselves first, thinking what we could gain out of this situation, what we could gain out of this favor? I think that's something that we can put into practice every day of our lives, in all our interactions. And as we do so, let us be more aware that we're acting out of the love and compassion, just as Jesus has for each one of us, that we're showing to each one of our neighbors as well. I wish all of you, my dear brothers and sisters, a blessed day ahead and a blessed week as well.